Hi, Shae Russell here, editor of the Daily Reckoning Australia. And joining me today is your fellow editor, Callum Newman. Callum, how are you, mate?
I'm really well, Shae. I'm very, very well. I'm very glad to be with you as well.
Yes, well, I'm very glad you're looking at me right now because the whole time we were talking beforehand, you were too busy looking at your gold stocks. So tell
Well,
me,
I have been looking at my gold stock, watch
what's so
list and my
exciting
gold.
in the gold market?
No, I've been writing, as you know, I mostly fluffed the previous gold run across 2018 to the mid 2020. Um, then we've had a big drawdown in gold stocks for about 6 or 7 months. And then just last month, I started to go, this is actually starting to look really interesting because the stocks had sold down so much. But when I looked at the Aussie gold price, you go, well, it's actually not that bad. They're still making money. Like at some point, how cheap can these things get? Well, and as you know, in the stock market, things can get very cheap, and you never know what's coming around the corner. But I started to write and in my own trading and stuff, started to get very interested in what the gold sector was doing. Um, and we're starting to see some of that momentum starting to come back into gold stocks, which is not something you might remember a couple of weeks ago. We did our editorial meeting, and I sort of said, hey, guys, gold stocks. And I got crickets. I even wrote in the DR, I got crickets from everybody. Nobody was excited. Um, so anyway, it's nice to see some green. It's always nice to see green,
It's always nice to see green. It's
including
better
your
to see
shirt, I should
gold,
say.
though. All right, now let's just jump on a couple of topics that you pointed out in there. You pointed out that you missed the gold run from 2018 to about 2020, which is in stark contrast to somebody like myself, who's obviously a little bit of a raging gold bull. What made you change your mind this time?
Well, again, it wasn't a big picture view on gold so much. It was just driven by the fact that earnings. It was like these guys are minting money. At some point, the market has to recognize that, or you pay up for it and you go, well, how much downside left can there be if this thing's making, for example, $100 million a year, and the share price is off 50%. I mean, I just like those odds. So it wasn't such a big thing about gold, as long as gold held steady. So it's had a drawdown as well. The odds of the trades working out were really good. So that's what appealed to me. But now it's starting to get momentum. I'm very excited to see what gold does from here.
All right, Callum. So, from your point of view, are you trading the stocks or are you trading the underlying gold price?
Oh, definitely. For me, I trade the stocks. So if gold, for whatever reason, decides not to cooperate, well, that's obviously going to pressure the stocks. So I'll probably jump out. So I'm not necessarily saying I'll be in these for a long time, but right now they seem to be where the market action is.
All right, so the market action in the gold sector, are you favouring producers, developers, or the highly speculative explorers?
Absolutely, 100% the producers. As I just told you, so the rationale for the trades is the guys have got a good gold price to work with, so they need to be producing to realize the money, the profits. Now, my observation of the sector is those are the ones that are showing strength. So, Northern Star Resources, Gold Road Resources, Newcrest Mining is starting to lift up. There's some other ones as well. The little specky explorers are still down and weak on their knees because they need the sentiment to be there for the punters to buy them up. That's not happening at the moment. So I don't even bother with them at the moment. If you've got one developing and it's close to going into production, well, that's okay for my book because it can still realize the profits fairly soon. So, but definitely it's the producers.
Now, up until recently, I myself wasn't particularly interested in looking at stocks stocks that had assets outside of Australia. However, when it comes to the producers you're looking at, are you focusing on gold producers within Australia, or are you willing to take on a little bit more sovereign risk and look at gold companies with assets outside of Australia?
That's a great question, actually, because we've had some things that can go either way in that front. Me personally, I like the Aussie ones. I'm a little bit risk averse in that way, so I do prefer the ones based here in Australia. I know that there's the name of the stock has dropped out of my head, but it's in the Philippines. It's got fantastic margins. It's definitely probably worth looking at or considering. But I mean, I don't want to buy like 20 different gold stocks. So I've only got a few positions on. But so there's that one where you go, yeah, I'd probably be okay with the Philippines. But there was one in Africa now. There's plenty of gold stocks in Africa, but there was a mining company in Ghana, I think it was, that just got stripped of its license. I can't remember if it was even a gold stock, but it was definitely a miner. And the government just came out, and I think it's Ghana. Don't accuse me if it's wrong. But one of the African countries just said, well, sorry, guys, we're changing the rules on you. Of course, it got smashed on the day. So I just don't want to wake up and have the problem. So for me, it's the Australian producers.
Yeah, look, that's a similar sentiment that I've shared for quite some time. I've been reluctant to look at stocks in Papua New Guinea, for example, just because I don't want to add geopolitical risk to my investment recommendations.
Yeah, again, you've got to weigh up the risk versus reward. So if they have like fantastic margins and you position size down and you go, you acknowledge it as a risk and you take that into account, well, then there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. The odds are you'll probably be okay because most countries don't come in and burn you over. But it just, as you say, it just adds an extra layer of risk and complications. And there's enough of those already without throwing in some more.
Now, speaking of risk, we are currently trying a bit of a new format for these market wrap videos going up. And I'm just going to let you know, we're in the process of trying some new technology. And my groovy little earpiece is telling me that it's going to run out of battery at any moment. So we might need to bring our conversation to an end. Tell me, Callum, before I get to my final farewell, what do you suggest investors look for when they're hunting for gold stocks?
Well, the buying situation was different a month ago to what it is today. Obviously, they're creeping up, so the bargain nature is going a little bit away. So you've got to be watching the gold price from here and the Aussie dollar. So it's what happens to the Aussie dollar gold price that's the most important. It's around 2,200 now, a little bit more maybe. As long as that's holding, I think the producers, they will be making fantastic profits. If the dynamic behind that changes, well, then you maybe get a little more excited if it's going up, the gold price, a little less if it starts to trend down or the Aussie dollar works against us. So, what's the Aussie dollar gold price?
Now, we might have a little bit longer to talk because we've done a little bit of a groovy ear switch while you were speaking just then. Let's move into, because there's more than precious metals than just gold. Now, I know gold stocks are the reason why you're excited about the market at the moment. But what about stocks like that are silver related or related to palladium and platinum? Are these things that are on your radar?
Not mine. I'm not saying there's no opportunity there, but over the years I've learned just to focus on one sector at a time, and I get a grip of what's going on there. There could be massive opportunities there. I have absolutely no idea. I don't follow any of it. I know we talked a little bit about the potential silver squeeze recently, and you've been bullish on silver. Incidentally, I found a bit of silver bullion that I bought back in 2012 or 11, I think. I thought I'd lost it. I couldn't find it anywhere. One of the perils of investing in bullion. God knows where it was for 5 years. Then finally it turned up. I'll even show you. It's right here in my book.
Yeah.
I think.
Can I just point out, that's the difference between you and me, is I can tell you where every single bit of my precious metals are,
Look at that.
right
That
down to an
is a
ounce.
1 kilo coin. Now that's
Very
a
nice.
big
What
coin.
one is it?
It's a kookaburra. 1 kilo of silver
kookaburra.
there, still in its little case. Look at that, all shiny in the sunshine there. So that's my experience of investing in silver. I'm still down 10 years later.
Oh, look, given what's been happening in the silver
market. It was
market.
about $50 an ounce back then, but yeah, I'm fairly sure I'm still down. I can't remember anymore, but
I got a similar experience with Bitcoin. Don't worry, I'm down on my Bitcoin that I've also lost on the internet.
So yeah, don't listen to me on silver. I'm no authority whatsoever. What about you?
Look, as we know, I've been a long-term gold fan, gold investor, gold rider for the better part of 15 years. Gold's down at the moment. I don't think the worst is over, but I do think the bottom is near. I was having a chat with our editorial director just yesterday, Greg Canavan, and he was saying that there is definitely a double bottom, or it looks like a double bottom's forming in the gold price. However, I think if you extrapolate a little further and go back to July last year, you could argue that there is a triple bottom forming. Now, if it is that triple bottom, it's extremely bullish technically. I think we've got a few more weeks of down days ahead in the spot gold price. Obviously, there's a connection to US bond yields. They've been rising. That's suppressing the gold price. Optimism is abound in the US right now. We've got all that. All our problems are solved. The vaccine's around. People are going to keep spending. This is weighing on the gold price. In saying that, I'm confident that we're going to see a lift in the gold price soon. Ideally, it lifts some of the gold stocks sooner rather than later.
I hope so. Oh, and of course, the other thing, it's a US dollar story as well. So if the US dollar gets stronger, it pressures gold and commodities. If it gets weaker, it gives them sort of like a lift. So the US dollar is perhaps the most interesting thing to watch at the moment, because I know Greg has talked about how everybody was getting a little bit too one-sided to being bearish on the US dollar. It's had this sort of unexpected rally. Can it keep going? I don't know, but it depends. Well, it's going to have a big influence on what gold and silver do.
Yeah, look, following the US dollar and the gold price can sometimes be really useful, but there's times when the US dollar and the gold price can rise in tandem. Now, it's actually unpredictable when that happens, but it does happen occasionally. There's a little bit of strength in the US dollar at the moment. There's been a little bit of strength in the US dollar gold price as well, but that sort of connection won't last long. In saying that, I do look forward to a lift in the gold price coming soon.
Well, let's hope so. Again, we can only see what happens, but it's one of the more interesting stories to follow for the rest of the year, I think.
Absolutely, and I think Aussie gold stocks are definitely ones to watch. I mean, we've talked about this off camera before and at various videos on our YouTube channel, is that a lot of Aussie gold producers are making a lot of money.
And not only are they making money, we're just before off camera talking about some of the cash hoards in some other stocks. They have a lot of money. It gives them so much optionality. They can pay extra dividends. They can buy up smaller projects, buy back shares. So the interesting thing for me, I, as you know, some of these big producers, what a combination. They've got lots of money and all the juniors are down, 50, 70%. They can just swoop in and buy them up if they want to. So kind of a case of the big getting stronger and the weak getting smaller. So that's what I'm watching also. Mergers and acquisitions, which is something that you told us was going to happen 6 months ago.
Yeah, actually even longer. I think even at the tail end of 2018, I started writing about it. For investors watching this space, and as we said, it's not just for the gold sector, but the broader commodity sector in Australia as well. We've got a very large mid-tier sector. So I'm expecting a lot of consolidation there, as well as single asset companies. I reckon they're going to get gobbled up.
I agree. In fact, it's something I've expected for a while. So I guess you could say you got to be skeptical. Like if it hasn't happened yet, why hasn't it happened? But I mean, with money so cheap, they can borrow to buy whatever they like. The valuations are there. Like it makes sense to do it. And then we've got the demand story. This idea of a commodity super cycle is compelling for a lot of people. So they can go to their bankers and say, look, the demand is there. We've just got to expand to make it happen. So I think now is definitely the time to see that.
Well, that's all about, that's pretty much all we've got time for today, but not just time for our video to wrap up, but my time here at the Daily Reckoning in Australia has come to an end.
Yeah, I know. And this will be a sad shock it was a sad shock to everybody at the company, but of course to people just finding out now. So you're going to be moving on. So this is our last video. And when do you wrap up for the DR? Is it this week?
Yeah, so my final writing for the DR, the Daily Reckoning Australia, will be on Friday, and I've been going over some of the things I've written about for the past decade, and I'm a little bit nostalgic and a little bit sad. But yes, I'm moving deeper into the gold space. Obviously, you don't spend 15 years working on one commodity to leave it behind. I plan on sticking around to enjoy this incredible gold bull rally ahead. I'll just be doing it elsewhere.
Yeah, so we should say, what is your Twitter handle? Because we'll still be following you, your thoughts on gold via Twitter. What is your Twitter handle? I follow you on Twitter. It's at Shae.Russell.
Given we've working together for about 6 years, Callum, you should know this. Actually, I think it's 7 or 8. My Twitter handle is Shae A. Russell. And just in case anybody doesn't know how to spell my name, it's actually S-H-A-E. My ex-mother-in-law couldn't spell it for 10 years.
Well, she's gone now. So it's Shae Russell.
Shae A. Russell.
Shae A. Russell. No, do you do that on Twitter? No, just at
No.
Shae A. Russell.
You're doing this so well, Callum. All right, thanks for talking me up. No, it's at Shae A.
Sorry,
Russell.
yeah, it becomes before the name. Yes, thank you. So not a massive Twitter user. Working beautifully. Well, Shae, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you. You're sort of the life of the room wherever you are, and you'll be sorely missed. But I wish you all the best for new role, and we'll stay in touch. But hopefully we can get you on maybe down the track as a special guest.
I would absolutely love to come back on as a special guest. And hopefully just before I leave, I'll teach you how to use Twitter so you're familiar with it.
Sweet. Sounds good to me. All right,
Callum, it's been a pleasure working with you.
The DR videos from here, and I'll come up and we'll be doing some new topics as we go forward. But for now, it's goodbye, Shae, and hello to the future. See you next week.
This has been incredible.